There's almost nothing that children love more than chocolate, but there are some kids who are forced to make it. And perhaps the saddest part of this report is that, well, this isn't news. 18 years ago, the largest consumer of chocolate, the U.S., introduced a bill that promised to prohibit and eradicate the worst forms of child labor in the industry. All 8 major chocolate companies signed up. That was back in 2001. But by 2005, the chocolate industry failed to fulfill its promise.
With only a few months remaining, it has become apparent that the chocolate industry is nowhere near meeting its obligations to ensure that child slaves are not used to produce cocoa in Côte d'Ivoire.
And in 2008, it was again nowhere near it.
The original intent of the protocol has not been achieved, and consumers today have no more assurance than they did 8 years ago that trafficked or exploited child labor was not used in the production of their chocolate.
By 2014, you might think the issue would finally be solved. Well, yet the author of the original 2001 bill had this to say.
Think about your Hershey bars, the chocolates you eat, the cocoa that you make, chocolate that goes into cakes, whatever it is. 60% of all of that we consume in America come from 2 countries, the Ivory Coast and Ghana. How many people know that they got that through abusive child labor?
So what's happening now in August 2019? Any changes? Well, no, not really. The U.S. senators asked the government to block chocolate imported from the Ivory Coast. In response, one of the chocolate manufacturing giants, Nestle, suggested that keeping track of who harvested the cocoa bean might make the end product more expensive.
Not all suppliers may bear those costs themselves. Some may pass them on to customers or consumers.
Well, this logic of using child and sometimes forced labor to cut costs has not convinced everyone. A class action lawsuit was filed against Nestle and another one against Hershey. But the chocolate market continues to boom worldwide. And perhaps one sad reality is many of the children involved in the industry won't ever even taste the very product they help produce.
Well, we did ask the companies Hershey's, Mars and Nestle to comment on this story, although so far we haven't received a reply. We did speak with Terry Fitzpatrick, though. He's the communications director for the organisation Free the Slaves, and he gave us his thoughts.
Well, you know, there was a time when slavery was considered morally acceptable. Even preachers said it was better to bring people from the bush in Africa and evangelize them, even if they had to live in slavery in the Americas for that. And it was also baked into the economic system of the world. Slave labor helped fuel a lot of the agricultural and the construction economy decades, and at least a century ago, certainly. When it was outlawed, it became hidden, because no longer could you actually do this in the open where people could see it. And so that's where the problem lies today, is that it's a hidden crime, but we're all connected to it and we don't see those connections. Corporations need to be not just transparent about whether there might be modern slavery or forced labor in their products. They need to be responsible for that, because once they're responsible for that and liable for that, they will be forced to get rid of it.